Hi everybody, this is another Flying Rookie video, and this video is of DJI F330 quadcopter. Now this aircraft that I got here is not mine. These are aircraft that I built for a friend of mine, and this is actually a kid. He's getting into flying multi-rotors, and I built this aircraft for him. Now I don't want to make a living off, I love to build aircraft. I love to build it for myself. I don't like to, I don't want to be a mass production, guy building aircraft for everybody. But since he's a friend, I say, why not? Let me just put it together for him. So one thing that he was lucky about this, I told him, what, just save you money, buy a good radio for the aircraft. I got a bunch of spare parts at home, so I'm gonna take care of the spare parts that you need, motors, props, ESCs, stuff like that, so that way you can have a flyable aircraft. So I told him, save you money and get a remote similar to the one that I have. So he's getting also an Aurora 9 from High Tech. So once I test this aircraft, he's gonna come. I'm gonna transfer the memory of my radio to his radio. He has to just bind the receiver to his radio, and then he's gonna have his very first multi-rotor. Okay, so before I fly, let me just describe what's going on over here. This multi-rotor is the basic F330 frame. It's really light. As you can see here, it weighs like less than 700 grams. The motors I'm using over here, they are the DJI 2208 motors, and this is the Scorpion version of this DJI motors. And these motors, they are 1050 kVs, and they are the motors that comes with the DJI quadcopter. So that's the motors that I picked for him, because these are the motors I had on my own DJI. I replaced these motors with some other motors I put on that quadcopter. The props are also DJI. They are 8-inch props, and I had these leftover props from all the cheap props that I used to have. Right now I replace pretty much all the props on all my aircrafts with APC props. So these are the last Chinese props that I had. So he was lucky that I had these ones lying around. So I'll put them over here on this aircraft, and they work perfect with these motors. The ESCs are it's like Hobby Wing clones, and they are 20 amps, and they're just basic regular RC airplane ESCs. There's nothing special about it. There are no Simon Cade or anything. They're just regular airplane ESCs. The flight controller is GU344 from DJI. So this as basic as a flight controller can get. The only advanced feature that I could say that this flight controller got is like you can set up the flight controller gains, and it's just one gain adjustment for all three basic axis. So this single adjustment deals with the yaw, the roll, and the pitch. Okay, but you can adjust it from the radio. You can adjust it on the flight controller or on the radio. So that's the only cool thing that I can say about this. It comes with two flight modes that you have to adjust right on the flight controller itself. They got one they call it hover mode, and they got another one they call it cruise mode. So I got in cruise mode right now, because supposedly it's the one that the company recommend. I did solder some auxiliary wires in case that he decides to fly FPV down the road. He can power the video transmitter, or if he wants to put LED lights, he can also power it too, so you don't have to do any kind of future soldering. So I put some JSTs in here. Since unlike all the receivers that are on all my aircrafts, this one I put the Minima 6 from High Tech, and this one doesn't have the SPC input, so there's no way to monitor the battery voltage. So to do that, I put a LiPo alarm, and this one is programmable. I set it up on 3.44 volts per cell. So once the battery reached that point, that would be a total of 10.2 volts total. this alarm is going to go off, so that means that it's time to land. Okay, so let's just proceed to turn the radio on. And I had to lock the throttle. So the nice thing about this radio, you can lock it right on the screen, so you don't have to waste any of the switches for that. So throttle's locked, and now let's plug in the aircraft. Okay, and finally I gotta plug the light pole on to the battery balancer. Okay, I got 12.6 volts, so it's fully charged. So this flight control is not that stable, it's not that advanced. I mean, when I first started, flying, from all the few flight controllers that were available back then, for me this thing was God, because it wasn't closed unlike all the other flight controllers that were open. And this one also was so easy that I had like 3 of this in the past. But then when the NASA came along, and then some other flight controllers that came along after that, then I little by little start selling these flight controllers. So let me unlock the throttle and let's proceed to fly. It's like a really gentle breeze right now. It flies good. It doesn't quite stay there, so I mean that's the sucky part. Also, I know it's a little bit of wind right now. Now when I put the aircraft going that way, now the wind is going to push it away from me. Now it's not like the NASA, this thing got no barometer or anything, so, and you just don't stay in one place. I see you got a little bit of oscillation, so I'm just gonna land it and adjust that on the remote. So I got to go to the EPA over here, and now let me just lower it to 30%. So it's on 34, now it's on 30%. Okay, let's see what's gonna happen now. And now it's not doing that craziness I was doing before. Now this flight control is not going to be like that easy for him to, you have to a little bit fight a little bit the rudder. I mean, not the rudder, but the aileron, and the elevator. You have to fight it a little bit. It's a little bit tough to fly this. And then the motors, they are not, I mean, they're good, they are good motors, but the flight controllers, they are not like high speed or anything, so it's not as level as as a flight controller, like the NASA or any of these multiwis and so on. What's gonna be good for him? He becomes a good line of sight pilot, he should be able to control it. I suck as a line of sight pilot. I just have to land it and put my straight up my camera, because unlike the NASA, I can just put on GPS mode and then do have hands free. I cannot do that with this one. Doing that with this one means either crashing on the floor or 9/11 this aircraft on myself. And this is the only set of props that I got. I don't want to break it. If somebody's going to break it, I'm going to let him break it, not me. Now, the reason I'm making this video too, other than showing him, his aircraft in the air, is also I built one of these for myself. Okay, so I got another 330, DJI F330, but that one I put, you know, different stuff in there. I got I got Keda motors, and those motors, they are 1500 kV, so they got a lot of power. You know, and normally you don't see people flying multicopters with that, but I say, you know what, I wanna try something different and see, you know, if those motors they can be dealt with or not, you know, on a multicopter. So about 1500 kV motors. You got 8-inch props, so those ones, the ones that I put on that one, they are APC. And that's okay, because those motors, they're designed to, just had a little itch in my nose. Those motors, they are designed to handle, they're designed to work either with 8 or 9-inch props, so that's good. the ESCs that I put on those ones, they are the new Hobby King, I think they call it Multi-Star. They are green, and they are not Simon cable, they are still high-speed ESCs. They are I think they are 480 hertz, so that's really good. They're good ESCs. The flight controller, I put a multiwii. I'm not that happy with that flight controller, and it's very likely I'm gonna replace it, either with NASA or a Bumblebee flight controller. So I try to figure it out, you know what flight controller I want to use in that, because the multi-wii is like too complicated. I got also like an itch in my eyes now. It's a little bit, you know, hot today, so this thing is really twitchy. You know, this thing, you can even do 3D with it, so I have to work with something with this to try to make it, you know, less twitchy. Anyway, so if I go to the multi-wii, the flip multi-wii from Ready to Fly Quads, the one that I put on my DJI F330. But honestly, understanding the multi-wii software versus the NASA software, this multi-wii is way too freaking complicated. Honestly, I really hate, you know, to deal with those PIDs. Those PIDs, they are a pain in the ass. You know, and NASA it's more easy to understand than this. Okay. One problem that I got with this one is the batteries mounted in the top of the frame. I remember the older flight controller, the older frame where I had this same equipment, it had the battery below. So this thing kinda is feeling like and when you compare, you know, like World War II, you know, fighting airplane versus a Cessna, you know, the fighting airplanes of World War II, they had the wing below and the wing in the top, so it was more unstable. Therefore, it was better to do, you know, maneuvers. And the Cessnas, they are more stable because they got the wing in the top and the wing in the bottom. So when I had this battery mounted below the frame, when I had the other frame, the gouge frame, this thing was more stable. It went even more stable when I put, you know, the little one-axis gimbal camera mount, and I also put a camera. So since it has so much weight in the bottom, you know, it was so stable it almost felt like an answer. But I mean, maybe for somebody that like to do 3D, having an aircraft that is not that stable might be the golden ticket. But for the beginner, it's not. I know this kid has been flying, you know, helicopters, so I don't really know, you know. I mean, helicopters obviously are more complicated than multi-rotors, so probably he's gonna be, you know, he's not gonna have no problems to fly this. Other than orientation, because multicopters, that's the only thing that sucks about multicopters is orientation, because of the design of the frame. It's not like they got a tail and a canopy. Now, nice thing about this frame is the rear is red and the front is white, you know, the arms, and props in the front are yellow. So I think I'm doing 9 minutes of flying time right now. I'm not 100% sure. Let me just land this thing. Yeah, I'm gonna land it real quick and check the timer. Yeah, 9 minutes and 7 seconds of flying time. So I got a 1800 LiPo over here, 40C, so let's see if I can get, you know, like 12 minutes or so. So until he can afford, you know, a better flight controller, he will have to deal with this one. And this flight controller is a little bit tough to deal with. I mean, it's a little bit tough to fly, but this is why I used to learn to fly. I'm gonna do 10 minutes of flying time. So I picked this frame for him because this frame is like very bulletproof. It's a very powerful, it's a very strong frame, and you can see people, you know, from DJI that they make some videos showing, you know, the 450 frame of building, it just don't break. Okay, so I just did 10 minutes of flying time, so that's not that bad. You just go and land it. Yeah, 10 minutes and 17 seconds of flying time. That's good. Okay, so let me just lock the throttle, because that's the problem with this frame. You cannot arm it or disarm it. And that's the little danger about this frame. Anyway, like I said, final conclusion is that, I mean, it's a good frame. You got, you know, good motors. The flight controller is questionable. You know, the stability of this flight controller. One thing I can say is easy to use, easy to deal with. He's good with helicopters. He's not gonna be having problems dealing with this, because helicopters, like I said, they are worse to fly than this. So it should be okay. Let me just unplug the battery and unplug the LiPo arm. Okay, so this is the end of this video, and if you guys like it, please, you know, rate it, and any questions, put in the comment section below. You want to have other people see this video, just share it with others, and like I said, you know, you like it, put it on the favorite, you know, section, you know, favorite too. Okay, so thanks for watching. Okay.